Braves baseball is back, and it's a Chris Sale day. Here's your 15-minute scouting report to today's game. Yes, this is your Braves Today's Scouting Report, a production of the Belief Podcast Network and presented to you by FanDuel. I'm your host, Lindsey Crosby. In the next 15 minutes, we're breaking down everything you need to know before first pitch. Today, it's the Braves and the Texas Rangers in the series opener, so let's get into it. The weather report for the day: we should be playing baseball all weekend. It's entirely possible there's a little bit of a delay on one of these games, right? Shout out to @BravesWX on social media for the weather report here. Today, scattered showers. It should wind down sometime after sunset, right? High is going to be in the mid-80s. 30 to 40% chance of rain, but probably going to be before game time. Saturday, a 4:10 start. And thankfully, all three games are on Braves Vision. High of 91, only about 20 to 30% chance of rain. Very similar forecast on Sunday for the finale at 1:35. Low 90s, 20 to 30% chance of rain. That one's going to be a concern about rain late, right? If it's going to rain, it's probably going to rain in the later afternoon, 3, 4 o'clock or so. So we have to hope we can get in, get the game, and get out before rain leaves them sticking around the ballpark for a couple extra hours. Both teams have put out their lineup for today's game. For the Braves, it is one of the kind of more common lineups we've seen recently. Drake Baldwin goes from cleanup to leadoff behind the plate, followed by Ozzie Albies batting second, Matt Olson batting third, and Michael Harris II, who had been leading off a lot, moving to the cleanup spot, batting fourth. Mauricio Dubon is in there at 5. Dominic Smith gets a bit of a boost up to the 6th spot. Hopefully it'll help him actually, perform a little bit. That would be nice. Third baseman Austin Riley batting 7th. And then you've got the Striper Bros at the bottom. Jim Jarvis, one Jimmy Baseball, playing shortstop and batting 8th, followed by his Stripers teammate Brewer Hicklin in right field, batting 9th. Baldwin, Albies, Olson, Harris, Dubon, and Smith, Riley, Jarvis, and Hicklin. On the mound for the Braves is one Christopher Sale, 9-6, 2.20 ERA. Expected numbers are pretty close to that, right? 2.81 FIP, a little bit of a worse on an expected ERA, 3.45, but 29% strikeout rate, 6% walk rate, continues to be one of the best starters in baseball. A couple questions here will be: one, can he get run support? The month of June, Atlanta's offense was not good. He almost never got run support in the month of June. And then what can he do as far as length in today's game? Last time he pitched, last Friday against the Cardinals on Apple TV, rain forced him out of the game after just 3 scoreless innings. But in his last 7 outings, he has 1 quality start. It was the only time that he's gone into the 6th inning. Some of it's just been a little bit of inefficiency with his pitch count, right? He'll get up to 100 pitches or so and, get over 100. And they're like, okay, we need to go ahead and pull you from the game. And 3 of those starts in this stretch, 5 2/3 innings. He's that close and hasn't gotten over the hump for the quality start, only except for one time in the last 7 outings. So let's see if one Christopher Sale can take care of that today. Rangers that have seen Chris Sale, only 7 of them have ever faced him in a game, which is wild because Chris Sale's been in the league for a long time. Only 4 of these guys have hits off of him. Both Rangers catchers, Elias Diaz is 1 for 4, Kyle Higashioka is 1 for 6. And then you also have outfielder Wyatt Langford, 1 for 3, and Brandon Nimmo is 2 for 7. Speaking of the Rangers, let's look at their lineup real quick. You have Justin Foscue at designated hitter leading off. Wyatt Langford's the left fielder batting second. Brandon Nimmo in right field batting third. with Josh Young serving as the cleanup man at third base. Jake Berger, the first baseman's batting fifth. Ezekiel Duran, the shortstop, batting sixth. And then you see some of the lefty adjustments here. Cam Cauley is in center field batting seventh. Catcher Elias Diaz behind the plate batting eighth. And Braves legend Nicky Lopez at second base batting ninth. Foscue, Langford, Nimmo, Young, Berger, Duran, Cauley, Diaz, and Lopez. Starter here for the Rangers, Cal Quantrill, 3-1, 3.11 ERA. And the stats kind of like make it sound like he's been pretty good. And the StatCast card is a lot of blue. 4.59 expected ERA, 4.74 fielding independent pitching. A lot of he's not walking a lot of guys, 6.7%, but a lot of the ERA estimators not liking him have to do with his very, very poor strikeout rate. 14.5%, one of the worst strikeout rates in baseball. Now, because his walk rate is so low, he still has a positive strikeout to walk ratio, right? 7.8%. But for the most part, he has struggled to keep balls on the ground. His ground ball rate of 34.7% is 14th percentile. He struggled to get chase. He struggled to miss bats. His whiff rate is 7th percentile, under 20%. His strikeout rate, clearly 4th percentile, very, very bad. And the one thing that he's been decent at is exit velocity, right? 87.1% is his average exit velocity. So his hard hit rate, 79th percentile of 34%. And, but here's the thing. Even though he's not giving up a bunch of hard hit balls, because he's getting almost no ground balls, his barrel rate's still pretty bad. His barrel rate of 9.5% is still 23rd percentile, right? Like, if you don't give up a bunch of hard hit balls, but everything you give up is in the air, you're going to give up plenty of barrels. And that's the story when you look at what Cal Quantrill's season looks like. It is a 5-pitch mix. He throws all 3 fastballs a combined 78% of the time. Cutter, sinker, four-seamer are the 3 main fastballs. He's sitting around 94 with the sinker and the four-seamer, about 88 with the cutter. And then he's got a splitter and an occasional curveball that works off of that. The way that he uses these against lefties, it's a pretty kind of common tendency here. More splitters when he's ahead in the count. He drops the splitter usage for four-seamers when he's behind. Does have an interesting wrinkle, though, of when he gets to 2 strikes, he drops the cutter usage to ramp up the sinker usage. It's a really odd kind of adjustment, but this is the pitch mix profile of a guy that does not spin the ball very well, right? Cam Schlitter's a similar pitch mix to this and similar usage to this. The difference, between Cal Quantrill and Cam Schlittler is Schlittler throws 100 miles an hour. Quantrill obviously does not. Quantrill's throwing, 93, 94. But just kind of it's going to be a lot of different versions of a fastball. Split. If you can't spin a ball that well, great. Splitter's a pitch you don't want a lot of spin anyway. So that works out well. And again, he does have a curveball. It is nothing to write home about. The other handedness, when he faces a righty, his 3 most commonly used pitches are all fastballs. Sinker and cutter, and then some four-seamers, right? So it is, this is 85% usage is fastball here on the whole, but he does vary it based on where he is in the count. Early in the count, not throwing a lot of four-seamers, not throwing a lot of splitters, so he can throw extra cutters. He cuts back on the sinker when he's ahead. That's a very common adjustment. He drops the cutter usage to throw a lot more sinkers when he is behind. It's a very common adjustment as well. When he gets to 2 strikes, that's when he ramps up the splitter usage to like 16%. He ramps up the four-seam usage to about 24%, and he cuts back the sinker and the cutter. All kind of common usage, right? Against righties. No weird tendencies here. It's just you legitimately are probably going to see a bunch of fastballs in your at-bats. And he's throwing just enough of these different fastballs where it's kind of hard to sit on any one. Same thing with your first pitch. It's just as likely to be in the zone as out of the zone, right? And so it's hard to sit on any specific tendencies against Cal Quantrill other than you're probably getting some velo here versus you're probably getting something off speed in that splitter or maybe a breaking ball if you're a lefty in that curveball, right? So kind of just a weird little situation there. For the Braves, everybody but the Striper Bros have faced Cal Quantrill in their careers. Matt Olson's the only one who's taken him deep. Matt Olson's 4 for 10 with a homer and 2 RBI. Nobody else has taken Quantrill deep. And a lot of these outcomes are not anything especially interesting, right? Ozzie Albies is 3 for 12. Drake Baldwin's 1 for 2. Mauricio Dubon's 1 for 5. Michael Harris is 2 for 6. Jorge Mateo is 1 for 3, now that he's in the lineup today. Austin Riley is 1 for 7. Dom Smith is 0 for 5. None of these outcomes are that special, except for Matt Olson hitting, 4 for 10 with a homer. The bullpen status for both teams is going to be a pretty quick conversation because for the most part, everybody's good. Raisel Iglesias for the Braves, he threw 14 pitches on Tuesday night in the All-Star game. He's had 2 days off. He should be perfectly fine. All hands on deck here for the start of the second half. For the Rangers, very similar situation. Jacob Latz threw 6 pitches in the All-Star game on Tuesday. He's the lefty closer, heads up there. A little bit of a different thing when you look at, we have to face a closer who's a lefty. Doesn't happen a lot, but when you get one, it just does feel a little bit different for guys, right? They do have 3 lefties in this pen, by the way. Jacob Latz, Tyler Alexander, and Robbie, I think it's Ackstrom. Not quite sure how you say it. Ahlstrom. Interesting spelling of a name. I think it's Ahlstrom, but either way, they have 3 lefties in this pen, so something to be mindful of there. But both bullpens completely good to go today. Final thoughts on this one. Braves are favored in the opener. Comes up every time you have a Chris Sale game. Over under is 8 runs. I'm really looking at, for Chris Sale, I'm looking at the run support. I'm looking at how deep he can go into the game. Just finding that little bit of lost efficiency that he hasn't had since maybe the start of June. Really curious to see what the Braves offense looks like with a couple days off. And a lot of the thought normally would go to the guys that are struggling, like Austin Riley, right? He said he was going to Mississippi as soon as they were done playing on Sunday in St. Louis, get a couple days to kind of clear his head, not think about baseball, and then come back up to get working for the second half. I'm curious about that, but I'm also kind of curious about the guys that were hot, right? The guys that were hitting well early in June. Matt Olson had a power surge. Mauricio Dubon would make a ton of contact. Michael Harris was looking like, a future MVP candidate, right? What do those guys look like with 4 days off? Really curious to see how that goes. That'll do it for the Braves Today scouting report. If you want the deeper analysis, the lineup breakdowns, everything behind the numbers, make sure you're subscribed to Braves Today. Enjoy the game. We'll be back after it with the postcast over on Locked On Sports Atlanta. And today's 3 things are game recap over at bravestoday.com.